You know, it says live for a long time. It says live for a long time. What does that mean? Oh, are you seeing anything? I only have I only show one that says live. Oh heck. Huh? What? No sound. Tara. Tara, can you see and hear me? That's the $1,000,000 question. Okay. Tara says, "Oh, Tara, thank you. I'm going over here on YouTube and see everyone." Oh, okay. She says yes. She can see and hear me. Okay, this is great. Um, I'm telling you, it takes a village. Let me what? Oh, what's fine? Oh, okay. I don't know what this is doing. I'm just checking things. I don't know. So I can good to see me. Thank you, Tara. I'm just gonna wait a few minutes and then I'm just gonna I don't know, whatever. Actually, this is odd not seeing myself. I need to go to OBS. There I am. Hello. So I can see uh what? Oh, really? No kidding. I'm watching it. Okay. We'll wait for one more person. Okay, because it's getting late and I was going to do it this way. Tara, do you use OBS? Because whoever uses OBS, I, I'm watching it. Let me see if I turn this up. Yeah, I'm watching it on my iPad and you can come in here and see, dear. Um no, all I hear, you know what, Tara, sometimes that's the best way. Okay. I'm going to huh? I'm just going to start. Because I started using the phone a few minutes ago. We're going to talk about setting up your bee yard. I'm going to read it, kind of, sorta. And last week we covered, we covered, yeah, here, um, how to get your bees. Is it going to be a swarm? Is it going to be a package type, or is it going to be a nuke? So basically, the thing is that you go, you want a beekeeper, you're going to get your bees. Now, where are you going to put them? A lot of people are like, oh yeah, where are we going to put them? So the best way for me to do this is just to read this because I wanted to screen share. I think I blew away my OBS somehow, so I don't know. I don't know what happened. But moving on here. Um, that's the best way for me to do this. Okay, and a copy of this is going up after the stream on our website, which is thebeeladyapiary.com. And so far, there's another one up there. I think there are two up there, the one from last week. And this one will be going up tonight. So now it is time to think about where you're going to set up your bee yard. Okay, whether you have one, two, 10, however many bees you have. Some folks who do not have ample space on their own property rent a spot on someone else's property who has a lot of land and is not opposed to them setting up their bee yard. I mean, we know a lot of folks in our bee clubs that rent out land from farmers. The farmers love having the beehives on their land, And so that's what they do. Hi, Broussard. Good to see you. Yeah, our I'll have to get my husband to go down and get our elderberries. They're doing just fine. We have them in water, like you said. I don't know how many roots I'm supposed to have on there, but they're doing good. Um, so you got to figure out where you're going to put these bees. If this is your decision, keep in mind the travel distance, how far you're going to have to travel back and forth to maintain them, that you're going to spend, and to keep track of your hives, okay? When setting up your bee yard, be it one, two, or more hives, there are several things you will want to consider. It may not be possible for you to be able to have all of these factors just perfect, so do the best you can. Okay, folks, do whatever you can. The first one on here, and like I said, this is going up on our website. It's already to be uploaded, along with the others, thebeeladyapiary.com. And when you go on there, you'll see that we're uploading them as we do them, and we're going to just put a whole bunch of stuff up there, including my blogs once I get blogging, okay? Know the rules, laws, regulations of your town, county, or your state. This is one I cannot stress enough. So often I hear in this homesteading, farming community, oh, my neighbors don't like the cows, okay. They don't like the goats, they don't like the chickens. Well, before you purchase property, if this is your aim, you know you're going to want to do this, or before you get these animals, you need to check out your zoning regulations, all right, for your county, your town, and your state. But usually it gets down to your county and your town, because a lot of times your neighbors are going to know what the regulations are, and they're going to tell you. They're going to say, you're not allowed to have that. I know there are people in our area who say they have a thing in our area where if you need so many acres to have chickens, and so they get chickens, but you need a couple more acres to get the rooster, so they can't get a rooster. So it's that definite. You could try to get it's like an exception, which we did get many years ago when we had our soap shop open down the road in one of our outbuildings. And usually people aren't going to bother you if you're not making us think about it. But a lot of people are afraid of bees, and especially if you're in a community that has children. Oh, our kids, they're allergic to them, and this, that, and the other. So you're going to want to know your rights before you start this. We're very fortunate in that everybody out here, we're zoned agricultural, residential, and even so, things like 5 acres for a horse, even when all of the property is zoned agricultural, residential. So you really need to check on what it is you want to do and how much acreage it is that you need to do these things. There are some people who will check with their neighbors and say, hey, I'm going to bring in some bees, and I'll give you honey if you just, don't say anything. Fine, no problem. However, if their kids or something get stung, you're going to hear another story. There are other nightmarish type stories about people who don't realize you need a water source for your bees. And if you don't have one, your bees are going to head for the closest swimming pool, yours, theirs, or whoever, okay? So that's going to be a problem, okay? So you need to know. You can save yourself a lot of headaches up the road by first checking with your local region to find out about any laws about being a beekeeper in your area. Something you might do even if, your town or county or whatever says you can have them. You might want to think of a privacy fence. You might want to think of putting up shrubs or something. Because I'm telling you, depending on your zoning, if somebody gets stung by a wasp or a yellow jacket or a bumblebee or a horsefly, anything, they're going to claim it was one of your bees. I'm telling you. Like I said, we're very fortunate in that the people around us have critters, for lack of another way of putting it. There are cows down the road and pigs and chickens right there. And, everybody here has something. But that's because we're in that type of a community. So you really need to check that out. I can't stress that enough. There are so many stories about people, well, they made me get away from. Well, you know, it gets to be a tough thing because you're kind of hunkered down in your home, so it's one of those things. The good thing about bees is you can often rent somebody's land or make an agreement with a farmer. They'll say, sure, you can bring your bees over here, I don't care, but just be sure how close or how far that's going to be for your maintenance, because even in off seasons you're going to want to check those hives, to see what's going on. Next is you may want, this one too, you may want your bee yard to be out of sight. Okay, ours is out of sight strictly, basically because of where we live. I mean, somebody has to really look to find our bee yard. Here they say there's always the possibility of hysterical neighbors, even those who are 30 miles away, who, if and when they are stung, claim it was your bees. Now, bees usually forage around a 5-mile radius. And hubby, I'm pretty sure that's right. Let me check. Pirate and the Lumberjack. Hi, good to see you. I'm just checking. Hi, Linda's House of Chill. Good to see you. Anyway, they're going to claim 30 miles, 40 miles away. They're going to claim, oh, it's your bees. Another thing that makes it good for us is, down the road, up a little bit, there's a guy down there that has upwards of 40 hives, okay, which puts our little 27 to shame. People down that way also have an apiary. So, it's good for us. It's really good for us. Your hive arrangement. Okay, how are you going to arrange your hives? Once upon a time, beekeepers set up their hives very neatly, all in a row or rows, bing, 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 bing. Over time, they learned that this setup encouraged drifting. What is drifting? Bees would leave their hives, go out to forage, they take off, and when they come back, they go into the wrong hive. Sometimes, usually the bees will let them in, especially if it's really busy. Bee Man can expand on that in the chat, and he'll be joining us soon, up the road. But they'll drift all over the place. And, as long as it's not like a honeybee trying to come in or a wasp or something that's trying to steal from them, it's one bee to another, but you don't want that drifting. Sometimes they'll say, oh, I've seen some really cute things. People will put like artificial flowers on the top of each hive, claiming that the bees know that when they take off, they'll come back to the mums, or they'll come back to the roses or something. They paint them different colors. Anything they can do to encourage them to come back to the same hive. Also, in that same light, if you watch, something that's really interesting is like some other insects, bees fly using the magnetic pulse. Don't ask me to explain it, folks. Bee Man has to explain that to you. When they first hatch, they'll fly up. Okay, this I am aware of, and you'll see them fly around. They're just flying around. Those are your newbies that are orienting themselves for where am I? So they know how to come back, because and they'll remember it. It's amazing what bees will do. They remember it. So that what was the other thing on this? Oh yeah, where they say paint them bright colors. And when you do that, be sure not to paint anywhere inside the hive and let them dry completely. Don't go out there when your bees are foraging away and try to paint the hives. Paint fumes are not especially healthy or pleasing. Now, something else about your beehives. You're going to want to tilt your hives 1 inch forward so that any water in the hive will drain out. Now, even, it's going to rain, and on the best of days, there's going to be condensation in your hive. It's going to come from your bees. They're in there fanning to cool off the hive and everything. You're going to get condensation. It's just something that's going to happen, especially if you're where it's going to snow. here's the thing where they say if you ask 7 beekeepers a question, you're going to get maybe 12 different answers. So we have a question there. The pirate. Oh, hi, yeah. The good thing to do is have them tilted so that when you get this, if you get a lot of this condensation in, it'll drift out, it'll flow out, especially if you're using feeders that are inside the hive. Top feeders don't tend to leak, although that's not 100%, because of the way they're made. They're solid on the bottom with the little screen on top. But those interspace feeders, and also the ones with the mason jars on the bottom that you set in your hive, and they function the same way as the Boardman feeders on the outside. You hold them upside down. Well, the Boardman, you don't have to do that. You hold them upside down, and when it stops dripping, because you've got basically like a mason jar like this. Okay, you've got your sugar water in here. You've got little holes here. You turn it upside down, and at some point, it's going to stop. Okay, because of the pressure and whatnot. And a lot of folks will use this on the very top of their hive. They put it in the top box, and then they'll have the rest of their frames here. I personally don't care for that method because number one, it's taking up space that you could be putting frames in, and number two, it just makes me nervous. What if it just breaks loose or something? So especially with that, you're going to want your boxes tilt. It's just a really good thing to do. Somebody mentioned with the screen boards. My husband and I were going around this the other day. The screen boards on the bottom, which encourage the mites. If everybody has mites to fall through to the ground, and then you're going to put the wooden ones in there. Don't ask me how that works. I'll be going down there to find out soon when I take the mouse guards off, because we'll be de-winterizing our hives. You still just want your hives. You want that safety there. You really do. So tilt them. Plus, if you decide you have to tilt them later, you're not going to be tilting a hive because of the weight of the hive. Okay. Another thing is, ideally, what direction should your hives be facing? If your answer was southeast, you get the gold star. That's because southeast is the best, preferably free from early morning shade. Beehives in shade is not a good thing. We had a couple of swarm hives in the shade, and they were two of our strongest hives. And in the shade, over the winter, they didn't get a lot of the sun, and they died. Because of the moisture. You need you need the sun in there to heat things up, to dry things out. And in addition, you want your bees to take off at the first, the sun comes in, it warms it, and the bees go, time to go. Okay, and if your bees are sitting there like, waiting for the sun to hit the hive, they'll be there waiting. They're not going to just take off when it's sunrise, like your, chickens will, like roosters crow at when the sun comes up. They don't know until the sun hits the hive. So you want them to be where the sun is going to hit the hive. Here it says, it's also been shown that too much shade on your hives during the day may encourage the growth of small hive beetles. Now, we have small hive beetle traps. Basically, if you have a strong hive, unless your hive gets overrun, you can just take them out and kill them or whatever. We don't take any chances. We have the traps that go in between the frames, and it does a really good job. And we also used Swiffer, the Swiffer pads, the whatever. They get caught in those, so we use those too. Yeah, going back here, you want your workers to warm up and wake up. They don't wake up until the sun hits the hive. How much space between beehive boxes? You are going to need ample space to work around your beehive boxes easily. This includes your equipment, which is usually your hive smoker. You're going to have space for your smoker. and other equipment as your task required. You will be working on your hives on both sides as well as the back. One deep hive box filled with honeybees and brood weighs about 80 pounds. So, once your bees get going, be prepared to lift some weight, which is one reason we have a deep on the bottom, and then instead of having another deep on top, we went with we have supers, because and the queen does lay eggs in a super. Trust me, she'll lay eggs wherever she can. She does lay in a super. I was really concerned about that. I thought she's not gonna lay any eggs, and Bee Man looked at me like, oh really? And she did. One medium super of honey is about 40 pounds. Okay? So, when you do a hive inspection, you're going to have a table or something there. As you're lifting one box, you've got to set it somewhere to start inspecting it. To get to the bottom to start inspecting. So you're going to be doing some lifting eventually. Okay? A lot of beekeepers really don't know this. You never walk in front of a beehive. Never. They're coming and going. If you walk in front of them, they will let you know immediately. I've done it a couple times. So wherever their entrance is, I don't know how you're going to remind yourself. You can put a little fluorescent paint or something on the top of the beehive. Not on the bottom, but like on the top, or on the outside, like a little something to know with an arrow. This is the front. You don't stand in front of the front ever, ever, ever. Beehives are not something you will be moving around like household furniture. You're not going to be moving those hives around. Your hives are going to be setting on something, and they're going to get heavy, and your bees are going to get oriented to them. You're not going to be moving them around. So make sure you know where you're putting them when you first start. Most likely you will only be changing the types of and number of beehive boxes on it. Remember, since your hive begins to grow and once your hive begins to grow and fill up with bees and honey, they will get heavy. Keep in mind that when you are working with your beehives, you will be placing boxes to the side along with frames, and you will need this space very clearly. Meaning, it gets really crowded, when you have even 2 hives, you're going to have, we keep our smoker and everything in a bucket, like a metal bucket, the smoker and our brush, hive tools, things like that. And then we usually will take down boxes of extra super boxes and frames. So we're ready. We don't have to run back and get something. So, you may want to think like that. And even those of you that are starting with 1 or 2 hives, you're going to be amazed how quickly these hives take off in the summer. You're going to be amazed, and you'll be going, oh my goodness, we got to have a super. Oh my God, we got to put this in. So it's good to go out to your bee yard prepared. The other thing is, you will want, I don't care what you use, but you will want your beehives to sit off the ground at least 16 inches. Okay? You will want to control weeds and other growth under your boxes. One way to accomplish this is to lay down landscape fabric under the hive. Another possibility is to lay down layers of newspaper or cardboard. We didn't do any of that. Or to mulch it. We just we are using the concrete boxes. Let me see. Somebody's in orange. Hi, everybody. Oh, yeah. Hi. Hi, Christy. Yeah. Francis Urban Spirits, good to see you. Happy Lux and anybody else? Oh, okay. Yeah, we just have grass, and Bee Man goes down there with the weed whacker and he's brave. He says the bees don't like it. I'll go down with a sharp pair of scissors and cut around really quiet. Does the job. But you want to keep that growth down so that ants and other pests, they'll crawl right up the grass and get into your hives. You don't want to give them, you don't want to encourage them to get there. Um, water everywhere. Your honeybees will need a source of water. Okay, look around you. Is there a ditch that is usually filled with water close to your hives? Remember, during hot weather, each hive may seek out up to 1 gallon of water a day. So if you have one hive, make sure there's 1 gallon somewhere. You can use a bird feeder. You can use a child's wading pool. Something that has like a kind of a big surface on it. Yeah, you're gonna have to put something there. Otherwise, each hive in hot weather is gonna go looking for water, your pool or the neighbor's pool. Um, they use the water for cooling and curing the honey. So they have things to do, and they're gonna get their water. We're very fortunate in that our hives sit on a pond that we had dug many years ago when our children were here. Uh, Whatever you use for water, or going back to the bird feeder, yeah, that's right, or the pool. Keep in mind, whatever your source, the bees will drown unless they have a platform, like a leak. So if you, here we go back again. If you put a pool or something out there, you got to have something floating on top, or they're gonna drown. Ooh, because we never used a pool, but we have noticed we go over to the pond, and I'll try to get a clip of that. Um, they, go down the. Uh, we had our pond dug gradual. Pros and cons about that, but it allows for cattails. Oh, but it was good because we had children, but they're on little leaves and twigs and whatnot, drinking the water. So you got to give them something. When we did use bird feeders, we had like rocks and stones in there, so the rocks and stones were above the water for them. Okay, so you don't want to drown them. You got to make sure that you keep that in mind. Let me see. Protection from the wind. Bees do not like wind, not at all. A nice breeze can be good and bad for your bees. During the warm weather months, it can help your bee hives cool by helping with ventilation and moisture in the beehives. That's true. Also, a nice breeze adds to the comfort of you, the beekeeper, okay, when you are inspecting your hives during the summer months. But in the cold winter months, the same light breezes may become much stronger and be hurtful to your beehives by helping to make them colder. We will talk about preparing your bees for winter in an upcoming stream. But if there is a place you can set them up in the beginning that will be beneficial for all seasons, it may be the best course of action. Meaning, you know your environment, you know your climate where you live. If you've just moved to a new place, you don't know your environment, ask somebody, what's the winter like here? Find out, where does the wind come from? If you looked at our most recent short video in the bee yard where we are assessing after the winter, we have those. We used this year we used pallets, and we put them together, and we have like things like a solid thing on the outside, construction something. Bee man, you can put in there what that was. You got to block that wind. That wind is terrible to your beehives. Think of a beehive there, and we go through it here in our home. Like, our home is not near another home. They're like a couple 100 feet away. So we get what's called the refrigerator effect, and your bees are going to get that too. The wind is going to go around them, round and around. It's going to cool them. Think about that. It's cooling them. So you're going to want to protect them from the prevailing winds in the winter, especially. You really are. Think about yourself tending to your bees. Getting your bees set up in the best possible location is only one part of this equation. Much more important is the health and happiness of you, the beekeeper. Make sure your bee yard is not cluttered with items easy for you to trip on. You're going to say, oh, sure, but things pile up. We take breaks, we have lawn chairs, we've got water. I got a little table to put my, water on and everything. Oh, I have, I take down my little portable fans and stuff. I take a break, and cool off because it gets really hot. Uh, you're going to need space. So make sure your bee yard is not cluttered with items that you're going to trip on. And I keep saying that over and over. I didn't think it was possible, but it is. It is. It really is. Let's see. Try to avoid areas where you are going to be brushing against bushes or worse, thorn bushes or poison ivy. When you are working with your hives, if you're in a wooded, if you've got a lot of like bushes and things around your hives, you may want to clear that out because, if something, the one of the things you really don't want to do, and I've done it, okay, I can tell you from personal experience, you lift up a frame of bees and something happens, it slips or something, and boom, you drop it. I mean, down or something. Not a good thing. Not a good thing. They're not happy. You're not happy. This is where you have to have confidence in your bee suit. You can't panic. You're there like, they can't sting me. So, and a lot of people like, oh, no. They can't sting you through the bee suit. Okay, if they get inside, they can. But they can't. So you just have to stay calm, think of them, smoke them, get them all calmed down, move the frame away, do something. But you don't want to drop the frames. Pros and cons about the frame lifters you see on these YouTube videos. We have one. We don't use it. I don't use it. Okay, hubby doesn't use it either. Let's see. Recently, there has been a growing concern for ticks and Lyme disease in bee yards. Be sure to protect yourself with natural repellents. They don't have to tell me about that because I'm gonna have a bee suit on, so any ticks aren't gonna, come around me. This year I'm gonna go with half a suit, and I'm gonna just use Dockers. I ordered myself a pair of Dockers. Watching Bee Man last year, he doesn't get stung, so I might try it. But if I'll have my bee pants right there. This is an advantage of having a two-piece bee suit. We did not start with two-piece bee suits. We started with one. We worked our way up. Everything is basic in the beginning with keeping bees. Hi, Life with Linda. Good to see you. Let me see. Bees are very sensitive creatures, right? Something else on that notice, I think of things I'm telling you. You don't want to eat bananas before you go down to your bee yard. I don't know what it does to them. Just don't eat them. I don't know if it attracts them. I don't know if it upsets them. You just don't eat them. Okay? I know I take a shower. I only put on deodorant. That's it. I braid my hair so they can't get in my hair. I don't put on anything with a smell like perfume or, all these scented body butters I have. I don't do that. Okay? I'm not attracting anything. And plus, something that we've gotten the habit of doing, which some people in our club do, is we smoke our bee, like, he'll stand and I'll smoke him and then he'll smoke me. Like, our body, like our bee suits and everything. So bees are very sensitive creatures. If you are irritated and or agitated when working with them, your movements will convey it and they may act accordingly. Now, somebody said, why is it when you're upset you shouldn't go tend the bees? I'm going to tell you why. Because when you're upset, your body naturally radiates certain pheromones. Think about it, or whatever. And you're constantly thinking about it. You're gonna radiate pheromones. You may not know it, but you are, and they're gonna pick it up. So you don't want to do that. It's not that they're intuitively picking up your vibes, although I still think that might be part of it. But they're gonna pick it up. They can, it is known they can identify people that work with them. So, like in this case, they know my husband and they kind of know me. I talk talk to them. I'm like, okay, bees, if you watch our streams, I'm like, come on, we're going to do this now. Come on, I'm going to give you that. We're going to help you out. You have to keep in mind, they're just bees. You're there to help them. They're helping you by giving you wax and honey, but if you love the bees and you care about the bees, you're there to help them. And you're giving them more space. You're making sure, that they're not overrun by mites. You're checking them for all kinds of, pests and whatnot, like wax moths and things like that. You're there to help them. Think of we're parents. Think of a child that you're taking in, to get a shot, or if they have a cut or something, or they step on a rusty nail or cut themselves, you're taking them in for a tetanus shot. It's going to hurt a few seconds, but you have to do what's best for the bees, or with any type of animals you may have. And some extra thoughts here. Oh yeah, congratulations, you're a beekeeper. Okay, that's the last page. Do not worry and try to be perfect. You are not going to do everything perfect. We don't do everything perfect. I don't try to do everything perfect. Over time, you will develop your own technique of beekeeping. Remember, what works for someone else, even someone down the street from you, is not you. And the slightest subtle change in yards, flowers available, etc., sun, and everything else make a difference. In other words, the folks down the road might say, oh, gee, our bees, this, that, and this, that. You don't know where their bees are foraging. You don't know the direction of their hives. You don't know what's there for their bees. What the bees are able to go to. Do they have fruit trees? We do. Do they have like almost a whole pasture of goldenrod? We do. Okay. Our pasture that we used for our previous pasture that we used for our goat and our horse are overrun. So with all kinds of things. We have like all kinds of things, berries and whatnot. And the other thing is, even amongst your beehives, no two hives are going to be the same. It's not going to happen. It just isn't going to happen. Okay. Learn as much as you can and keep notes. That's a biggie. Even if you video, not necessarily for YouTube, but if you just, go down and take a video note, or have somebody with you who's going to write the notes. You're going to want to know, geez, that queen wasn't doing this, she wasn't doing that, or when did that happen? Or you really need to know. It is usually recommended that you join a beekeeping club. There, you may be able to seek out someone who will be your mentor. Our club, thank you, assigns a mentor the first year you join. And you're a new beekeeper, you get a mentor for a year. You call them with everything. In our, I'm trying to think, in our description, we have listed some beekeepers. I'm pretty confident, and you may want to contact these people. I'm pretty confident about Big Bear and Jerome's Bee Club. Tennessee's bees, I don't know him that well. And Southern Art, she's really busy. But you may want to reach out to these people, though, and ask them, I just started. If I send you a question, can you help me? I strongly recommend, as does everybody, if you're going to do that, send them a picture. You can't say, well, my bees, this, that, and the other. You have to send them a picture. Well, I saw something in my beehive that looked like this. You have to send them a picture. And this is where a couple lessons back we said, be sure you know the terminology of beekeeping. I saw a swarm hive. My queen is not laying a nice pattern. She's all over the place. And there are no supersedure cells. Remember, we talked about those. They don't seem to care. I've got brood, but I don't know if it's drone brood or worker brood. Help. Send them a picture that you can't discuss. You can't, it's kind of like somebody giving you a diagnosis without an x-ray or a blood test or an MRI. You don't want to do that. Do not underestimate the damage varroa mites can and will do to your bees. And they're everywhere. I believe they came here in the 70s or 80s. Bee Man knows the exact date. You're going to have them. Just because you don't see them, you have them. Trust me. Every hive in this country has varroa mites. When you do your hive inspections, keep an eye out for varroa mites. All you want to know is how many do I have? And that's where you're going to do your varroa mite test. We actually showed one of those with either, you're going to use either alcohol, which is going to kill your bees, however many bees you put in the jar, or you're going to use powdered sugar. And I'll make sure I go over that. The end of the season in most locations, August, it will be time to test for them. We will cover this. We found out that August is too late, have to do it in July. If you have to shut your bees up for the winter, you're going to pack them in with a lot of food. They're not going to come out except for cleansing flights, which is when they go out and go to the bathroom. And you'll see little yellow things all over the snow, and those are in a couple of our videos. If you're going to pack them all up, folks, you have to test around July, maybe the beginning or so that if your count is high, you've got a treat. And we use a natural vegetable treatment out there. You're going to want to do that. And here, the other thing is what I just, the last thing is what I just touched on. Learn basic beekeeping language. Know what the terms nuke, package, cluster, brood, swarm cells, supersedure cells, swarm, etc. mean. If you say, well, I got a bunch of bees in my tree back there, they're not going to know what you're talking about. You have a lot of trees buzzing around, getting pollen, or you've got a clump. You have to send a picture, okay? Know what these things look like, so you will be able to explain to another person or beekeeper what is going on inside your hive if you need help. Trust yourself. I cannot stress this enough. You know what you're doing. I don't know any beekeeper that hasn't read at least 2 or 3 things on YouTube. Trust me, or on the internet, okay? Common sense, folks. You're going to know if they're starving. One thing I mentioned a lot was if you've got a beautiful frame of capped honey and inside some of the caps, you're going to see little holes. And it's in the summer and you're not feeding them. And you don't know if you're in a dearth or if you're in a honey flow. What is a honey flow? It's when, they say, oh, we're in a honey flow and the bees are having a ball because all these things are blooming. The wisdom is you don't care if it's a honey flow or a dearth or what's going on, folks. I feed the bees all the time. And I think we are kind of in agreement on that. Except when they're really going strong. Because they're, you just say, well, they're going out getting pollen. Great. But you don't know what's going inside. Those bees have a lot to do inside, more than just, going in and out. They have to feed the brood. So, and they have to make honey and stuff to feed the brood. And in the previous stream, I talked about how long it takes them to make the honey. So have confidence in yourself, Enjoy your bees and get to know them. Watch your hives. Notice your bees' patterns. Look for bees coming back to their hives with pollen in the pockets on their legs. Try to find the queen, but if you can't and you see brood that is uncapped, know that she has been there 3 days ago, and that looks like a little worm inside of a cell. And then they cap it off. So if you see a bunch of brood in your hive, say you see a bunch of brood, you can't find the queen, and you see no larva, the little things, that's kind of a questionable situation, especially if you're not at a stage yet where you feel comfortable knowing the difference between drone brood and worker bee brood. Watch that hive closely. If you don't see the little larva in a quick amount of time, you've got laying workers. You've got to find that queen. You've got to figure out something. because it looks like you have laying workers. Am I right, bee man? So you're gonna want to. You're to me. You send them right to me. I'll let you know. Oh, you have to see those little larvae. Watch them, especially everything's blooming in your area. You know pretty much what's blooming in your area. Okay, but enjoy them. Try to distinguish. Yeah, here it goes again. To distinguish the difference between drone brood and worker bee brood. Most of all, have fun and remember, there is no such thing as a perfect beekeeper. You find one, walk away. Somebody tells you, oh, I got this down to a science. I never make any mistakes. My bees never die. Okay. I don't know, folks. There's no such thing as the perfect beekeeper. There might be, like the perfect, I don't even know if there's the perfect gardener. But bees are too unpredictable. So everybody is going to make a mistake. Everybody is constantly learning. Bees are going to be bees. And if you're a beekeeper, you have to lighten up and go with the flow. That, you don't say, oh my goodness, I did this, and if you blow away a hive, get a swarm. I mean, because it's going to happen. It really is going to happen. I hate to tell you that. Hopefully it won't. Some people are very fortunate. If there are any questions that weren't answered, I'm going to check here really quick. I'm looking here. I don't see any that aren't answered. We're going to end because at 8 about now, Country Girl is coming live, and I don't want to miss that. So you're going to want to head on over to, I'm going to put her name in here. COUNTR. There she is. Go to Country Girl and say Bee Lady sent you, okay? And we are going to be over and out until next week. And remember, this is going up on our website, so you can print it out and have it to go with your packet. I think I'll upload the others that we have from last year in advance, okay? All right, take care. Bye.